So UFC 22 is going down. This is the third time I've recorded this. I forgot to do a bunch of other stuff before. I'm going to get excited for this card. This is the best card of the year, easily. I've looked at every other main event fight this year. You know, there's a few that come close, but for the level of skill at the very top, let's get right into it. So we have Vishlev Borishev and Mathis Camillo. You know, I've seen Vishlev Borishev, and I just don't think he's UFC caliber. You know, like he's grappling is pretty actually not so hard. It's kind of non-existent. Tom Nolan used it against him. Terrence McKinney subbed him in the first round, and Chase Hooper subbed him as well. So I think Mathis, even though he got subbed in the first round, I think some grappling and maybe even some striking to get the decision win, and I think we're gonna see. I just don't think Vyacheslav Borishev is UFC caliber. And the odds for these two is Vyacheslav is $2.40. Camillo is $1.60. For the next fight, Sisakayev versus Eric McConaughey. Sorry. Sisakayev, man, he showed back a lot in his last fight. He got the knockout. But that was against, not the knockout, he got the submission against Eric Nolan. Yeah, he got caught a few times in that fight. He trains with Chimaev. He comes out of a really good camp. I haven't seen Eric McConaughey fight, but I know he did fight Ruzaboyev, and he won against Cody Brundage, which was apparently. I'm going to go Sisakayev by submission or TKO. A lot of people are saying Eric McConaughey is, UFC worthy, so I'm going to go Sisakayev by finish. For the next fight, we have Angela Hill. She's been around the block a long time. Like a long, long time, And, she's always she always gets a few wins and then a few losses. And, yeah, she hasn't been too bad in her last streak of 5 fights. She's won 3-5, which isn't too bad for who she's versed. She did Tabitha Ritchie and Lasmin Lucindo, who are top fighters, but she's fighting Fatima Klein, who is 15 years younger than her. Mind you, she might have lost to Vicious in her first fight, but Jasmine Judavicius is a top 5 fighter, and she's finished her last 2 wins. So I'm going to go Fatima Klein by decision. It's really hard to get in, but yeah, I think Fatima Klein's going to get a nice decision. I think Angela Hill's on the latter end of her career. So yeah, and the odds are for this fight, she's one of the heaviest underdogs on the card. Angela Hill's $4.70 and Fatima Klein's $1.20, which is surprising, but that is crazy. The next fight is Pat Sabatini versus Shepe Mariscal. Pat Sabatini has been in the UFC for a long while, man. He's only lost to the best. He's lost to Diego Lopez. The Damon Jackson loss isn't that good, but besides that, he beat Jordan Anderson Brito, who's a real killer. He out-grappled him that whole fight. And Jonathan Pierce, another hard fight. He subbed him in the first round. And with Shepe Mariscal, he's looked super impressive as well. But I do want to say, some of his opponents haven't been the top level. Damon Jackson, that's whatever. And that Jack Jenkins KO, which was 2 years ago, but excuse me. That was a weird KO. Jack Jenkins was winning that fight. until, he slammed him. Pat Sabatini's just like higher level of competition. So I'm going to go Pat Sabatini by submission. And if I'm not wrong, this is a rematch. They fought on the regional scene where Shepe won. I think Pat Sabatini's been in the UFC long enough where I can see him getting a submission or even a decision. Pat Sabatini is the favourite by $1.70 and Shepe Mascal's $1.10, which is correct. Right here. For the next fight is Kyle Dawkins, Gerald Meerschaert. Kyle, he's kicked out of the UFC, went on a 4-fight win streak. I'm pretty sure it was KOs. He came back on short notice to knocks out Pereira in the first round. But I think Pereira is honestly he's just not that good. I don't really rate him that highly. But that's besides the point. Kyle Dawkins is on a win streak and he's made a turnaround in his career, which is super impressive. But I don't know, man. I don't really rate Michael Olajacek. He got KO'd by him. Decision by Brad Tavares, which isn't a good look. I'm losing to Reina Dorita, but he's on a 3-fight losing streak. It kind of looks like a little bit of a layup for Gerald Meerschaert, and I honestly just see Kyle Dawkins knocking him out in the first round, or Gerald Meerschaert somehow getting a possibly crafty decision. Crafty submission in the third round when he's losing. But I think I'm going to go Kyle Dawkins with the first round knockout. He's just looked really good since he's come back to the UFC. So yeah, I'm going to go Kyle Dawkins by knockout the first round. And the odds are $1.28 for Kyle Dawkins and Gerald Meerschaert's $1.70. Now, the next fight, I know I'm supposed to go for my countryman, Cody Haddon. This is his hardest fight yet. Cody Haddon's always there to scrap. He always looks a good fight. He had a good fight with Daniel Algereta. He comes forward. But Malcolm Wellmaker has that touch of death that I like. When I see that touch of death in a smaller division like bantamweight, I go towards the power. I think Cody Haddon's going to come forward, and then I think that one punch to the chin, it's all over. And I think this fight is for them to. This is fringe of 20 in the bantamweight division, and I know Cody Haddon hasn't proved himself as a well maker or other bantamweight. Whoever wins this fight, man, this gets fringe top 20, not top 15, but definitely top 20 at bantamweight. But I am going to go Malcolm Wellmaker by KO. I wouldn't be surprised if Cody Haddon grapples with Wellmaker. I haven't seen Wellmaker off his back, but he's undefeated. So I'm going to go Wellmaker by KO. That's my pick. For the next fight, Aaron Blanchfield, Tracy Cortez. Blanch. And, sorry. Oh, shit. I didn't say the last things. Cody Haddon's $2.20 and Malcolm Wellmaker's $1.60, which makes a lot of sense. Aaron Blanchfield versus Tracy Cortez. They've got the same kind of win-loss streak, but while Tracy Cortez, she hasn't been as active. Aaron Blanchfield has at least fought twice a year. She hasn't fought yet this year. Her last win was Rose Namajunas. I rate that win very highly in the flyweight division. And her only loss is the Martin Ferro and obviously Tracy Cortez, but that's a younger Aaron Blanchfield. While Tracy Cortez, she lost to Rose last year, roughly. It's not the worst loss. And she beat Viviana Araújo, but she's she's fringe top 15. I think Erin Blanchfield just shows more in a lot of her fights. She beat Thiago Santos. She beat Jessica Andrade. She beat Rose Namajunas. That's super impressive. I think Erin Blanchfield's going to get Tracy Cortez by submission or a decision. I don't see her TKOing her, so yeah. And for the odds is $1.40 and 80, and this is possibly a like a number one title contender. What are their rankings? I think this might be a number one title contender in flyweight. Anyway, the next bout, Roman Kopylov versus Gregory Rodriguez. This is a pretty good fight. You know, I like Kopylov and I like Rodriguez. But I think Rodriguez is just way, just a bigger, he's got more. I've seen more of Gregory Rodriguez. You know, the only person he lost was Joe Cannonier, but he's a crafty vet, man. It's hard to fight someone like Cannonier. And nearly there in the first round. And he just sent Jack Hermanson to the friggin' Shadow Realm, which was insane. And he beat Christian Leroy Duncan everywhere, and Christian Leroy Duncan's looking so good at the moment. So, I'm very surprised they made this matchup. I thought they'd give Gregory Rodriguez a top 15 matchup. While Roman Kopylov, some of the people he's lost to, it's not a shame. He lost to Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa's looking like he's going to upturn his career. And KO and Chris Curtis isn't really the biggest. If that's your biggest win, are we really going to base it off that? And he didn't look good in the grappling. I could see Gregory Rodriguez taking beating on Roman Kopylov, so I'm going to go Gregory Rodriguez by a TKO in the second or third round. And for odds of this, Roman Kopylov is $2.30. Rodriguez is $1.60. Excuse me. Last fight on the prelims. And Red. And a lot of people have been saying this is a hard fight to pick, mainly because of how good they both are and how good they've both performed. But I'm going to be honest. A guy that loses to Andre Trusky in the race this year and struggled with Tresean Gore, I honestly don't think Rodolfo Vieira had an awesome career in Jiu-Jitsu, but I think Bo Nickel is a D1, one of the best D1 wrestlers of all time. He's going to take Rodolfo down, and I think I'm going to see a finish. Because if you can't wrestle with Petrosky and if you're getting outstriked by Petrosky, I see Bo Nickel improving his game. And I think, honestly, Bo Nickel's going to make a comeback with choosing Rodolfo, but I don't really understand why. Bo Nickel lost to Reina de Ritter, who is still a good fighter. Even though he quit in that Brendan Allen fight, he's still a good fighter at the end of the day. He beat Robert Whittaker. But yeah, I think my choice was very clear. I think Bo Nickel by a finish, in the second or first round. I could see a TKO. I don't know if we'll get a submission. How good Rodolfo Vieira is off his back, but I think Bo Nickel is just going to and get him to the ground. So yeah, I'm going to go Bo Nickel by decision. And Bo Nickel's $1.40 and Rodolfo's $1.80. That's about right. So yeah, let's get to the main card, which is such a fucking this is the best main card of the year. Has to be. It's we go from Beneil Dariush versus Benoit Saint Denis, which is usually 3 fights up, to Leon Edwards, Carlos Prates, Sean Brady versus Michael Morales, Valentina Shevchenko and Jay Wiley, and JDM versus Islam Makhachev. This is such a good card. I can't say how much I love this card. But yeah, let's get started with Beneil Dariush and Benoit Saint Denis. And I'm, if I'm not wrong, I'm pretty sure I can't remember Beneil's last fight. Yeah, he beat Moicano by decision, but then he's gotten knocked out twice. He's not active. I don't think Beneil's active enough. But in the last 4 to 5 months, and he's losing to the best fighters. But I think Benoit's just on the upturn of his career. Benoit's the same, but he's a lot. Is he? I feel like he's younger. Doesn't matter. Kyle Prelek, yeah, and he took it. Did he do that on short notice, or I don't know? It was weird matchmaking. Benoit lost to Moicano, which, like I said, I don't really rate that loss. But then he beat Mauricio Rufy. Benoit's a bit of a dog, man, and I think Beneil's at the end of his career. I could see Beneil coming out of the work and just somehow starching Benoit, but I think we're going to see a Benoit KO. I just like his activity, and yeah, losing to Moicano ain't the best look, considering that Beneil just went to a decision with Renato, but Renato gave troubles to Beneil in that fight. I think Benoit's just going to come more forward and not be as careful, and I think he's going to find the chin of Beneil. So I'm going to go Benoit by a TKO in the second round. But yeah. The next fight, another fucking crack up. So Leon Edwards versus Carlos Prates. This is awesome matchmaking by the UFC. Forgot to say the odds for Beneil. Beneil's $2.60 and Benoit's $1.50. There you go. But back to it, Leon Edwards, he's been on like a bit of a losing streak. He got submitted by Sean Brady dominantly, but I think Brady's on the upturn of his career. I think he's really gonna make a run for a title shot. And losing to Brady, it's a shame, but there is shame because he lost. And losing to Bilal, I don't really want to say anything about Bilal. But Carlos Prates, a lot of people are choosing Prates because of his knockout ability. I see the level of opponents Prates has fought. Who one of the only people he lost to. And I can see a world where Carlos comes in and knocks out Leon in the first or second, but this is a 3-round fight. Leon's a rangy guy, and a lot of people might say Leon's lost to all strikers, all the strikers that Leon's fought, he's lost to. Well, yeah, but I feel like Leon might be crafty, try and take Carlos Prates down. We saw that we saw he struggled a little bit with Ian Gary's striking, and I think Leon and Ian Gary are very similar strikers. I think I'm going to go Leon Edwards by decision. Not super confident about that, but I think Leon's going to get the decision over Prates. We haven't seen Prates hurt. That's another reason why I'm not going Leon by TKO. I think Leon's just going to be crafty. He's 34, get the decision. And I don't think, I've only ever seen Leon hurt, which was by Nate Diaz, which is insane. But yeah, you can go Leon by decision, or you could even go Prates by KO. Which, this is a very surprising odds. Leon is $2.60, which is very surprising for a former champ. When we say former, I mean within the last year or two. And Carlos Prates is $1.50, which is insane. But if you wanted to go Leon by points, it's $4, and if you wanted to go Prates by KO, it's $2.60. Yeah, there's some good odds, and then because Carlos Prates by points is $3.40, which I could see a points game. But yeah, I think Leon Edwards by decision. I think he's going to be crafty, and I think he should come back. Hope I don't regret that. Now, the next fight, this is definitely a title eliminator. But I can't think of any other fight. Usman has been saying he wants the next title shot. You don't get a title shot off beating Joaquin Buckley. I'm sorry, that doesn't happen like that. I think, like, whoever wins gets the title shot, even though I don't think... Here's the thing. If Sean Brady runs through Michael Morales, Sean Brady gets the title shot. But if Michael Morales beats Sean Brady, does he get the title shot? As much as that is a good win, I don't know. It's very strange. I feel strange about it. Yeah, man. Like, let's look at their last wins, like last performances too. If you look at Leon, like Sean Brady subbed Leon in this second. What the hell? Yeah, right. I'm dumb. That was for 4 rounds. I remember that going. Wait. So apparently, Sean went 4 rounds of domination with Leon. I don't remember that. I was watching the fight. But yeah. And then, it's Gilbert Burns and Kelvin Gastelum. And then he lost to Bilal, which is no shame. But I'm going within the last 2 years. I think that Leon Edwards' win is very impressive. While Michael Morales, his last couple wins, they've been okay, but they're not like... This is a real test for Michael Morales. This is the real big test, He KO'd Gilbert Burns, which he's on the latter end of his career. Neil Magny. Neil Magny ain't a bad win because Neil's a crafty vet, as we see. Fucks my multis up, but anyway. This, I think, there's a lot of people choosing Michael Morales for this fight because of the way he dispatched him. But, like I said, I think Burns is at the latter end of his career. I think Sean Brady, the way you do that to Leon, and Leon's not the worst grappler in the world, he's actually half decent. I think you got to go Sean by a possible decision or submission. And Michael Morales has background in judo and stuff, and his parents were judokas. But I think Sean's going to get him down and play his game. Well, Michael Morales could just fucking TKO him. But the only person I saw really TKO Sean was Bilal Muhammad, which, incredible, I know. That's a bad look that Bilal's finishing you. But I'm going to give Sean Brady his flowers, and I'm going to say Sean Brady by decision. Maybe even a submission. We might even see a submission in this fight. And the odds are Sean Brady by $1.70, Michael Morales by $1.20, which is very fair. I sound horrible. If you want to go Sean Brady by points decision, it's $3. It's pretty cool. Or by a submission, it's $5.60. If you want to go Michael Morales by KO, it's $4.70. That's good odds. And Michael Morales by points, it's $4. So yeah, there's some good odds for you there. And for the next fight, just like, when are you ever excited for women's fights? It's not me. Fights has to be Valentina versus Zhang Weili. I don't know why they stripped Zhang. She should still be a title. Oh, I love it. Weili should honestly still be a champ at strawweight. That's besides the point. I mean, I think just the way we've seen Valentina struggle in her last few fights, and what I mean by that is she is going close. Yes, she dominated Grasso, but Grasso hasn't looked too impressive in the last few fights. She went to a draw with Grasso. Then she only beat Ferro by one round. That's one round. It was 2-2. She was crafty and and I think the way Zhang Weili, man, she's been like, don't get me wrong, these are all awesome wins that Valentina. But excuse me, shit. But the way Weili has just disposed of her opponents, and a lot of them might be by decision. She arguably finished Yan Jian on like twice in a round. And then Tatiana Suarez, everybody thought showed why she's such a good fighter. And I think, I'm going to be honest, I think Valentina, it's on the latter end of her career. I think, yeah, even though, like, I'm going to make a different argument for the next fight, I think Zhang is just, like, hungrier. And I think she's going to want it. She's going to want the title, and she's going to want, I think Zhang's going to be crafty. She's going to come on the inside with the strikes, and I think that we're going to see a new champion in Zhang Weili by decision. Zhang's $2 and Valentina's $1.80. That's respectable. Valentina by points is $2.50, or KO is $9. Yeah, how long since she's done it. And Zhang Weili by points is, and then the KO for Weili is actually less than Valentina's KO. $7.70. Excuse me. So yeah, I'm going Zhang Weili by decision. And the next fight, the best fight all year. I'm about to go to Islam's profile for no reason. Yeah. So, this is the best fight of the year, I think. I don't care about Cyril versus Tom. I didn't care about. It's literally. I think the reason why this fight's so interesting. He's 18-0, not 0, but he's 18 fights win streak. And the guy who's like, I would say a lesser version of Islam. Islam is definitely on a league of his own. And, JDM's he's like a bigger version of Volk. But I think he's more prepared. Like, no offense to Volk, but I think he's more prepared because of Volk. And Volk helped him in this fight. I think, like, he wants that. He wants to keep his belt. He wants to hold that belt. Now, I know Islam is just as hungry. I'm not going to sway. I won't be like, oh, Islam's opponent, this and that, because it's very similar opponents. Kind of. I don't know how to explain it, but how do I explain it? So, like, for example, if I put up this, JDM versus Islam, if we look at both their opponents, obviously won it off Bilal. Bilal was like the perfect warm-up fight for someone like an Islam to come up the division. And then, Gilbert Burns, Kevin Holland. I don't really want to go off his last few wins because besides Bilal was a perfect warm-up fight. He got the scrambles. We all know what Bilal does to everyone. He takes them down and then he roughhouses them. But he wanted to prove his boxing, which was ridiculous. And then for Islam, he's been on a generational run. 5 title fights and 4 title wins over, arguably some of the best fighters ever, like Charles Oliveira, one of the best lightweights ever. Alex Volkanovski twice, even though that second one I don't like to count. And Dustin Poirier, even though it's older Dustin, it's still a tough fight for him. And Renato Moicano was on a 2 days' notice, so it doesn't count. But Islam's just been on a generational run. He's been against some of the toughest lightweights. But I think with Islam's going to definitely take Jack down. He's going to wrestle him, and I think Jack's going to get the scrambles. He's been working with Craig Jones and probably other high-level grapplers that emulate style. And as many people have been saying that Islam's bulked up and he looks incredible and he's taking creatine, I don't think, like, if you looked at them side by side, like, Jack still looks bigger in my eyes. I think he looked way bigger. Jack looked so much bigger than Islam in a way, and I think Islam bulking it, and a lot of people might be saying, "Oh, he's going to be less tired." I think he's going to be more tired because he's going to have to use more physicality. He had the bulk up, which is weight on yourself and your legs and all your takedowns. He's going to take harder shots. This is definitely the hardest puncher he's ever fought, no doubt. He's got a heavier grappler in front of him, and he's got a guy that's prepared. So, and for Jack, this is the same sort of thing. Jack's got probably the hardest puncher. Ironically, I know. I think this is a harder puncher than anybody. Like, Islam's definitely a great striker in his own right. Hardest grappler that Jack's ever fought. Hardest test, 100%. He's pound for pound number 1 or 2. I don't give a shit. How, like, that's so good. And then, like, this fight is a 50-50 match. This is the proper matchup. I don't care what anyone says. But I have to go with my countrymen and my brain. My brain's literally thinking, I think JDM, Islam. I think JDM's going to, he's going to get taken down, then he's going to come up, and I think Islam's going to tire out. He's going to take some big shots. Like, I think he's going to take some damaging shots. JDM does that to people. Like, we've got to remember, JDM was finishing everybody just before Bilal. He finished everybody. Decision Holland, yeah, that was weird, but when you're finishing everybody, Holland's a middleweight, Islam's a lightweight. He's gonna cop some shots, and I think Islam, it's gonna be too much, and he's gonna break Islam in the 3rd or 4th. Obviously, we could see Islam get him down and maybe submit him. But I think JDM by 3rd or 4th round. So, I was supposed to post this yesterday, but I've been a bit crook. Excuse me. Eventually I do want to add, like, a background music and, other stuff to the videos. But, this is my predictions for UFC 322. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you all later. Yeah, thanks. Bye.